Hi, welcome back to Happy Hour here on the Craft Beer Runner. Today, another Zoom call with a friend of mine. We have Clint Welch coming in from the Sacramento area. Clint, you want to quickly say hi and introduce yourself?
Hey, Carmichael, actually, which is a suburb of Sacramento, just the first town east of Sacramento, basically connected to Sacramento, and nice and hot up here. It's I was just telling Jack, it's fall has started everywhere else, but in Sacramento, it doesn't start till around Halloween. It's going to be 100 tomorrow, I think.
I think that whole region gets pretty hot and stays hot all year round. A lot of ultra running races are in that area, and trying to time the season and the weather for those races is tough. Just plan for heat.
It's part of the handicap of running up here, because even later on, you're going to have hot races, and but everybody's running in the same, because you always hear people say, "Oh, it was too hot. I had a bad day," and it was like, temperature was the same for everybody that was running that day. So
exactly. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking here, Claim Steak Brewing Zwaldo IPA. Very clear. I'm a very clear beer, clear IPA person, and I'm loving this one.
Where are they out of?
Claim Steak is in Rancho Cordova, which would be basically the next town east of me, a little bit south of me, but suburb of Sacramento, right here. So.
And you said your buddy's the brewer over there, the owner?
Yeah. Him and I were buddies before he started the brewery, and then he opened it up because he won a competition. 21st Amendment would put a competition on down here at matter of fact, another plug, Capital Beer and Tap Room. That's my glass. Anyhow, they would do a competition for homebrewing, and he won it the first one, and then was able to brew out of their brewery, and it was such a big hit that he opened the brewery, and it's a big hit in this area. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear how these breweries start. I know a lot of breweries put on some homebrew competitions, and for that to turn into something that's great, especially for your friend.
Yeah.
I'm drinking Great Notion. They're out of Portland, but they now have one tap house here in Seattle, about to open a second. It's the Fruit Monster. It's a sour. I know how much you don't like sours, but I love them. It's a mango guava passion fruit, 6%, and it is a cute little can. I mean,
it's a great can. That's the first thing I thought was, because I have a collection of cans down here in my room, and I was thinking that's a great can. And actually, I like about 5 ounces of sour, and then after that, no more sour.
I'm a fan of the barrel aged, the really tart kettle sours, like the really tart stuff. I love. So yeah,
that's where I'm a little different. If you know that you get with the sour right there, if then it gets the thumbs down. If it doesn't bite me, it gets a higher rating. So.
All right, cheers, Clint. Thanks for coming on.
All right, buddy.
Yeah, so I just, as you were saying in the introduction, so you're in Carmichael, a little bit south of Sacramento. Your buddy is in Rancho Cordova, and the Sacramento beer scene, I'm going to use your words, is, I think, underrated. Do you want to talk a little about the Sacramento craft beer scene and how big it actually is and how good it is?
It's very good. It's very big. If you ever came here during Sacramento Beer Week, it really shows how big our beer station is. As in, I've done other beer weeks, and I mean even San Diego. And San Diego's so spread out. And obviously, I'm not going to say we're San Diego, but the beer week is kind of hard because it's so spread out, as I imagine something like Seattle would be. Our breweries are spread out here, but we have, it all ends with a climax on Sunday with the beer festival and everything. And there really is just breweries all over the place. And kind of like I told you earlier, people in the know that we have a lot of really good beer here. And then I always call it the greater Sacramento area, because like Auburn is 30, 40 minutes up the road, and you have Moonraker and Knee Deep up there. And then in Lincoln, there's a brewery called Slice that just started winning awards before the pandemic hit that all of you guys are going to know about very soon, which is amazing. And there's just, I mean, you can go to brewery. I had a buddy that we would go to breweries all the time. Every time they open, he's a running friend. Every time we open, him and I would go try him out. Well, it became so overwhelming that went completely out the door. There's just a ton that I haven't been to yet. So,
right. So Auburn is the endurance capital of the world, is what they call themselves?
Yes.
So for the non-runners are somehow watching two runners talk about beer, a lot of famous races, specifically Western States 100, finishes in Auburn. So I know about like, the Auburn Ale House. I've been there many times. Is there any other stuff in Auburn that's going on right now?
There's a few different things in Auburn. Like Crooked Lane is in Auburn, but really an Auburn Ale House is historic, so to speak, as in it's just solid beer, good food. It's right in the middle of downtown. But then you go out by the airport and you have Knee Deep Brewing, which distributes, which I'm sure most of you guys know about Knee Deep. And then Moonraker, who was really winning a lot of awards and unseated Pliny the Elder in one of the big double IPA competitions down here. And then that ties into Slice that I was telling you about. Their head brewer from Moonraker started up Slice, and so you have that beer going now. And I might be speaking a little wrong. I'm not the most knowledgeable person on all of it, but it's just kind of a tree going on, you know.
Right. And then what downtown Sacramento? And I haven't been there in about 8 years, but even 8 years ago, there was a great craft scene in downtown.
Yeah, all the restaurants, and I mean, you have other people come into like field work out of Berkeley, Bay Area, great brewery. They have a tap house and all of their beer in downtown. Firestone has a restaurant downtown, and Capitol Hop Shop has, I don't remember how many taps. I want to say 80 taps.
Is it mostly local stuff, or what do they serve there? Do they serve from all over?
He always has local stuff, but he also brings in hard hitters, obviously, all the time. And then my son actually works there, so he would kill me not knowing how many taps that they have. It's a solid tap room downtown. So,
right now, as I mentioned, you're a runner like myself. You also, in the past couple of years, started to put on your own races. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you're a race director. Which is your race?
Folsom Lake Ultra Trail, and I'm co-race director because it's under Single Track Running umbrella, which is Paulo, and Paulo puts on a lot of races in Auburn. We were just talking about Auburn, and like the 50K USATF Championships is every other year. That's Paulo's race. Every other year, it's Formidable 50K in Auburn. And then him and I put on Folsom Lake Ultra Trail, which is 110K. And the whole passion behind the race was we wanted a race that circumnavigated the big lake. And to our knowledge, it's the only one that does that, you know, at that distance.
So 110K, doing some quick, I'm an American, going from Imperial units. That's about 70 miles or so?
Just under, yeah.
Okay.
68.5, right in there.
Yeah.
Everybody's GPSs are going to read a little bit different, so.
Oh, that's another conversation I could talk about, consumer GPSs and how terrible they are.
Absolutely.
And how you can tell the difference between a trail runner and an ultra runner.
Yes.
Like I said, another day, another conversation, another beer.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you incorporate beer at all into the finish line of your race?
Oh, absolutely. Claim Steak, I love Claim Steak, actually made a beer for us, and it's called Flute. So we call the race, because it's Folsom Lake Ultra Trail, we call it Flute. And so he makes Flute IPA every year, it's a single IPA, heavy on mosaic hops and additional hops. And then we buy a couple kegs of that, and we have it at the finish line, and usually like a bluegrass band, Americana bluegrass band one year, but everybody's welcome to have beer. Like, everybody thinks it's just for the runners, and we're just like, no, you can have a beer, you know, cheer people in, and it's a good time.
That's awesome. You're going to make me want to come down next September for a trip to Sacramento. I'll make it happen. And you should have told me earlier about how great your race was. Man.
it's fairly small. It really hasn't taken off. We have a lot of people come to the finish line and have a good time, but runner-wise, like last year was a very hot year, and we had a very high drop rate, which is terrible when you're putting on a race. You want everybody to finish, for your numbers, for everything, and yeah, it was hot. It didn't happen.
Yeah, up here, so I'm a part of the Seattle Running Club, which we put on a series of races in normal years called the Cougar Mountain Run Series. Not the exact name of it, but so Cougar Mountain's a local park operated by the county up here, and trails, and we put on different distances throughout the year. Each race gets longer and longer throughout the summer, and one of our club sponsors is Flying Lion Brewery. Evan, one of the co-owners, was on video 3. So they make a special Kolsch for the race called Cougar Mountain Kolsch. It's only produced for that race. And then they'll have maybe one keg left over that they get at the tap house at the brewery at the end of the season. So unfortunately, because we didn't have races this year, that wasn't brewed this year.
Right. Well, and same with Flute. And then we do a buckle for the 110K, a wood buckle. And then, so the Sunday, I want to say the next day, but we don't really sleep Saturday night. But the next day we have the buckle ceremony at Claim State Brewery, and people can have the beer there. Now, a Kolsch is a pretty good idea. I'm a hophead and I like IPAs. It's a little big for people that just ran 68.5 miles, and we always have beer left over. So
yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned your son. You said he works at Capitol Hill Tap House. One thing I remember, so you're one of my favorite storytellers, so things stick in my mind. So we were at a friend's wedding a couple years back, camping out in Santa Barbara, and I remember you telling a story about you and your son going to some Grateful Dead concerts. I know you're also a music head, and you love the Dead, and you love jam bands, and you get to quite a few concerts. Want to talk a little bit about the concert scene? And
well, I'll bring up Claim. I keep saying Claim State. Ryan at Claim.
Wait, hold on. Before we go further, this is not an advertisement for Claim State. I've never actually, honestly, I've never even heard of them before, and I want to check them out now. But
right.
Clint's not getting paid by them. I'm not getting paid by them.
Not at all. But you brought up music, and so local music scene. Before all this happens, he has bluegrass Americana bands come through there a whole lot, and I love it because you brought up local. But to go back to the Dead, it was Dead 50th anniversary. Obviously, Jerry Garcia's dead, and I went to. They were only supposed to play 3 days in Chicago for it, with Trey Anastasio from Phish as the lead singer. Then everybody else was the old Grateful Dead members. So they did a last minute, like I think we had 2 weeks before or something in Mountain View at Shoreline. They did 2 shows at Shoreline, almost like warming up for the Chicago show. So obviously I went to that, had to go to that, and I took my wife's brother. He went with us also, and my wife and I. And then anybody that goes to a Dead show that likes that kind of music, you're instantly hooked. And then so the following Wednesday, we're at Capitol Beer and Tap Room having a beer, and he's still talking about it. And he's like, let's go to Chicago. And I was like, I have to go to work tomorrow. And he goes, call in, let's go to Chicago. And I was like, dude, I have to go to work tomorrow. And he goes, let's go to Chicago. And then so I texted my boss, who is a total country person, not into the Grateful Dead, but can appreciate when a 40-year-old man wants to just on a whim go on a road trip. And he's like, no, I'll take care of anything you have to take care of. You go. And I was like, okay. And then so we're going to drive to Chicago, and we needed another driver, and plus be cool with my son. So I come home after a couple beers, and I get home and I look at my son and I'm like, hey, you want to go to Chicago? And he's like, yes. And I was like, do you want to see the Dead in Chicago? He's like, yes. I was like, pack your bag. And he looks at me and he goes, right now? And I go, yes, we're leaving right now. And then so we drove straight through 32, 33 hours to Chicago, got there 10 in the morning. We didn't have tickets, by the way. We wanted a beer. We went to a brewery. I could go on for a long time on this story. Not even thinking it's 10 in the morning. We look on our phone, find the closest brewery, walk up, and it's closed. It's locked. and this guy just sitting on the curb goes, "Hey, you guys want a beer?" And he looks, literally, he looks like a drugged out homeless person. And I was like, "Well, yeah, I want a beer." And he pulls out keys and he opens this brewery, and he works there. So then we had beers, and another long story. Anyways, had beers, and then it was all about trying to find tickets. And then so we found this guy that said he had tickets. He only had one. And so I told my brother-in-law, "You take that ticket because I'm not going in without my son." Walked around looking for a miracle at the Dead Show. Finding a ticket is a miracle, and could not find any. It was sold out. And then so at the last minute, went to StubHub and went to get my tickets at StubHub, but I had withdrawn all of my money, and my bank put a stop on it, not because I didn't have the money, because I had withdrawn too much money. And so then, so I call the bank, and it's 5 o'clock, and they're like, "You have to get to a bank to get more money," and I was like, so I go, my son's not a runner. We're running to the bank. Luckily, they're open till 6. We get the money, we get tickets, and we get into Soldier Field and watch the show. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, like I said, I remember that story just stood out for some reason. I remember your son and Grateful Dead and some crazy shenanigans. Do you remember the name of the bar or the brewery?
I do not remember the name of the brewery, and truthfully, that's good because it wasn't very good. I have a friend in Chicago that I messaged afterwards and said, "Hey, you know this brewery?" And he goes, "Of all the breweries to go to in Chicago, don't go to that one." It's a good story, but the beer wasn't that good.
All right. Well, unfortunately that happens, but it's a memorable story, and it's you told me this story in 2017, and we were camping out somewhere, and it stuck in my mind for 3 years. So. Right.
My probably my favorite part of the story was about halfway through the show, and my son's not a deadhead. He's 23, just not a deadhead, but he looks at me halfway through the show and he goes, "Dad, I get it." And I was like, yes.
Was that your proudest moment as a father when your son got the Grateful Dead?
It probably was one of my proudest moments as a father, is him telling me he gets it, watching the Dead, and plumes of smoke going on all over the place, and I'm a dad, you know what I mean? He was an adult at that time, so.
Oh, that's awesome. Clint, appreciate you taking the time today, talking beer, the Dead, Sacramento beer scene, and your race. I want to ask you a couple questions to wrap things up. Starting off, as a runner, as an adventurer, do you have a memory of one of your most scenic beers? Like you're on a peak somewhere with a beer. It doesn't have to be good beer.
I would probably, there's two of them. So Robinson Flat, which is part of the Western States course. Again, single track running. Paulo, who I was talking about earlier, puts on a 50K up there called the Robinson Flat 50K. Well, I grabbed some Knee Deep Hoptologist. It's double IPA. It's a little big, but we went out to the fire lookout up there, and you can see down into the canyons. And you can see Squaw Valley over there, and you can see the canyon toward Auburn over there. It's 30 miles into the Western States course. That one, but I would say my favorite probably, and this is kind of basic, but is Ocean Beach, Pizza Port Ocean Beach. And then I would grab, and I've done this multiple times, grab some 6-packs of Ponto Session IPA, and then go watch the sunset on the beach. And that's my favorite, most scenic thing to do is grab some Pizza Port and go watch the sunset.
Yeah. That's the beauty of Southern California in general is you don't need to be on a peak to get the beauty of nature.
Right.
Awesome. Do you remember your first experience with beer in general, not craft beer, just
I do.
beer?
I was young, so although I'm into the Grateful Dead, I grew up in the country, very cowboy, and I used to go to cattle brandings with my grandfather. And it's a lot of work. And back then, it was if you worked with the men, you were allowed to drink with the men to an extent. You know what I mean? And so I got done working, and I think I was 12, and had.
So we're talking about both underage drinking and some child labor violations. So.
Yes, absolutely. But it was just like Bud Light, but. It was a proud moment too, because I was like, I'm allowed to drink beer. And then obviously I couldn't drink beer. It wasn't the greatest tasting thing or whatever. I was just on top of the mountain that I was able to drink beer. So
Poorly flavored water.
yeah, it was, yeah.
So, you mentioned a few different styles. What are some of your favorite styles of beer?
I'm definitely a West Coast IPA guy. I'm a hophead through and through. This is sacrilege, and I'll make some of your viewers upset. I'm not a hazy fan.
It's okay. Most of my friends up here in Seattle are not even IPA fans.
Yeah, I thought hazy was going to be like brute IPA and just be a flash in the pan, and here we are. It's not going away. But I've grown to like lagers. Like I said, I like a good sour, but I can only handle one, of a sour. Porters, I don't know. I kind of appreciate a little bit of everything. I don't like wheat beers, but other than that, I can appreciate a little bit of all the beers.
Right. And then, so in your local area, so let's say the greater Sacramento area, do you have one or two favorite breweries? I mean, obviously I know one of them.
Yes, I don't even have to say that one. That one's my favorite. But Slice, greater Sacramento area, like I told you guys are going to see that. And then I'd say like in Sacramento, I really like Urban Roots. It's a barbecue joint here, and they brew good beer, and the food's good. Like you walk in, I don't even eat meat, but as people that eat meat, you walk in and it's a full-on barbecue joint, and it's a great place to drink beer and hang out and just a cool vibe.
Right. And then lastly, outside of California, do you have one or two favorite breweries?
That's a tough one. Crux, definitely in Bend. I love Crux and just the vibe. If you go to the brewery, it's a lot of outside stuff going on, whether it be disc golf or whatever else. It's very outside based. San Diego doesn't count as out of state, even though it's 9 hours away from me. It's hard. Bend, I'd have to say Good Life in Bend also. Bend, I really enjoyed that trip. The breweries and everything else. Good Life and Crux were just top notch.
I mean, Bend is kind of like the adventurer's paradise. So it's if you're an outdoors person, whether whatever type of activity you do outdoors, you have those, you have trails, you have nature, and then you have a food and beer scene inside the city.
Yes, yes.
It's kind of like this adventure paradise in Oregon.
I could definitely live in Bend for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, Clint, thank you so much for your time today. It's great seeing you. These Zoom calls are actually helping me reconnect with some friends, which is great. And, I'm definitely going to check out your race, the Flute, the Folsom Lake Ultra Trail 110K in September in normal years. So I'll leave a link for that as well. Clint, I'll hopefully see you, definitely a Born to Run in May. We'll make sure of that. But,
for sure.
I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy.
Cheers.
Cheers.